Welcome to the Polish American Cultural Museum virtual tour. This tour will guide you through 9 distinct rooms, each with its own unique collection of artifacts and stories related to Poland's rich history and culture. While on this tour, you can start and stop at any time within the room you're in, or feel free to close and move on to another room. Thank you for joining us. Sit back and enjoy the tour.
We're moving in now into the next room, and it is historical Poland. It has a number of items that show the history of some of the events in Poland. This particular painting is a copy of it, was done by Jan Matejko, very famous Polish painter who lived in Poland during the partitions. You may recall that Poland lost its independence for 123 years. It was partitioned by Germany, Russia, and Austria. And this painter wanted to lift the spirits of Polish people, and he painted some very major events that were very favorable to the Poles. Now, in this particular painting, you have a preacher preaching to the government, to the king, to reform the government, otherwise Poland is going to be in trouble. And his prophecy came true. Poland was divided between the 3 major powers in Europe. So you can see the preacher preaching to the king, but you know, sometimes preachers, they don't know when to stop. They talk too much. And so you can see in this picture that the king is asleep, the cardinal is asleep, the queen is asleep, and the only person that is not is the nun. And she's probably praying for him to stop, enough. Well, this is my interpretation, but that's not the moral of the story that this painter had. He had in mind that no matter how much you talk to the people in power, they don't listen. And that's the painting that it was supposed to represent them. I think that you see that bust of Chopin, Frédéric Chopin. He was a very famous pianist, composer, and a lot of people think that he was French because of the French name. His father was French, but he lived in Poland, married a Polish girl, and his music, Chopin's music, is so Polish that I don't think anybody questions, who he was, whether he was Polish or French. No question about it at all. Some of the other paintings that were done by the same painter were, again, as I mentioned, of the major events in Polish history. Here is the Polish and Lithuanian forces conquering and defeating the Teutonic Knights that had a boundary over in the northern part of Poland. At one time, Poland and Lithuania were Commonwealth, were one country. So that's why I'm saying that it was the Polish and Lithuanian forces that defeated those Teutonic Knights. The signing of this union of Lithuania and Poland is shown in, again, his picture in this picture over here. That was in the 1569 when it was signed. The other picture painted by this painter is called Batory pod Pskowem. It is the Polish king being paid homage by Russian prince over here. Now, the Polish king actually was a person on a Polish throne, but he wasn't Polish. He was Hungarian. And Poland somehow had a tendency to elect king. They had elected kings. They had a tendency to elect kings that were not Polish. I don't know whether they couldn't agree on any of the Polish individuals, or they quarrel among themselves about this. But anyway, they named the Lithuanian was a Polish king, Hungarian was a Polish king, Frenchman was a Polish king, German was a Polish king. Somehow they always selected, maybe because they figured that no one in Poland had red blood that was required to be a king. I don't know, but anyway, that's the other thing that I want to point out is this soldier over here with those wings. This is times where the cavalry was very, very important. And the Polish military thought that if they put on the back of these soldiers these wings, when they attack the other army, these wings made so much noise in the wind that scared the other horses, and that's how Poland a lot of times won the battles. So the other picture by that same painter is when Poland had a written constitution, which was second after the United States. There was a freely elected government, and Poland had a very democratic constitution. Some of the people in Poland, the very rich people, they did not like this new constitution because it freed not slaves, but freed the people that work for these rich, and they were forced to work for these rich people. So they went to Russia and asked the Russian Tsarina to come and stop this nonsense, as they called it. And what you have is one of the delegates that said, kind of, over my dead body, so he was protesting this thing. The other thing that I would like to bring to you is the cabinet with the medals and decorations of both the Polish military and civilian. One of the biggest one is over here. It's called Virtuti Militare. It's equivalent to our Medal of Honor. It was worn by an individual that fought with the Polish forces during World War II at the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy. The other one was for the civilian and was the second highest award, and it was worn by a Monsignor of the Catholic Church here in Cleveland in the Tremont area. So over here you have documents and artifacts of the families that were deported to Siberia during World War II. One family in Texas, their father collected all these things and saved, and the other one is people in Buffalo, the same thing, another family in Buffalo. They donated it to us. They both wrote a book. The one in Texas his name is Łukaszewski, and the other one Bystryk over here that lives in Buffalo. Over here, when we moved over here, you see a portrait of an artist. He was in concentration camp, Mauthausen concentration camp in Germany. He survived and came to the United States and settled in Toledo and was doing quite successfully in the painting. And his wife, after he died, his wife had an exhibit over here in Cleveland in our center, and she donated the self-portrait of that artist. This picture over here that is painted by a fellow by the name of Julian Steinchak, who was deported to Siberia. And in cold weather, he lost the use of his right hand. So he had to learn how to paint and to do everything with the left hand. He came and settled in Cleveland and went to the Institute of Art in Cleveland, graduated from then became a professor over at the Institute. And he initiated this painting that you see over here. It's kind of called optical painting because it doesn't have any pictures or any scenery or anything like that. He became very, very famous as a painter. In fact, in Cleveland on Huron Street and 9th Street, the side of the building, one of the buildings, has this optical type of a painting. In Cincinnati, there are several paintings on one street. You go building after building and see his paintings. So. Over here, we also have some photographs of the sister of one of our members that was in the concentration camp in Auschwitz in Poland, in German concentration camp. And then she was taken to Germany in Dachau, which was again a concentration camp over there. And she was rescued by the Americans, and there are some pictures of that displayed in this cabinet over here. This particular painting is by Henryk Waniek. It shows you a mine that was attacked by the secret police and army during the Solidarity days. They wanted to squash the Solidarity, and that's why they attacked that mine, because it was very heavily involved in forming the Solidarity. This painting I bought in Poland after the martial law was declared over there, and I went with an organization that organized airlift of medicines and medical devices. So there's 6 of us that went with that shipment to Poland, and I went to a museum. It was it's kind of a small museum, but it was in the center of town, and I saw this painting, and I said to the curator over there, I said, "How can you display this, when there's a martial law?" And she kind of looked at me and said, unless they say anything, we have it. And when they will say something, then we'll remove it. So I asked her if I can buy the painting. And she kind of says, "Well, I don't think so, but let me let the painter know that you are interested." She didn't want to give me his telephone or address or anything. I think she was afraid. Anyway, he called me and we talked, and I said, "Look, I would like to buy that painting. I'm really surprised that it's being shown during the martial law." And he says, "Well, it's not for sale. It's not for sale because he wants to show us in the city where this mine is situated." But I gave him a full story. Come on, I'm from the United States. I came with medicines and so on. So he says, "Well, okay, I'll sell it to you on one condition, that you will not put it in your basement on a wall someplace that no one will see it." I said, No, you have my word that we will display it in a place where, and this was before we established the center over here. So anyway, after we established this museum, that's the first thing I've done is brought this painting over here because I promised that it will be shown to many, many, many people. When we talk about the Solidarity movement and the martial law, there was a lady painter that missed Poland so much that she painted this painting. It's a peacock that is crying. You can see the tears coming down, and about the place Krakow where she was born. So again, I bought from her, visited her in Pittsburgh, and you know, I was so impressed with it that I bought that picture, and we're displaying it in here. You know, long time ago, people did not have storage areas for valuables, so they stored them in these kind of chests, I guess. And then some decided that they're going to paint them. And it became so popular that a person issued a book about different paintings of these different chests that were. It was brought to us by one of our members here in Cleveland. This painting was done by a very famous Polish painter, Jan Styka, and it was to be shown on the World's Fair in St. Louis. But it was so huge, they couldn't show it. It's 190 feet long and 40 feet high. So it was rolled and saved. And then about 25, 30 years ago, there was a benefactor in Los Angeles that donated money to build a building specifically for this one painting. Now, what it is, it's like you go inside that building. It's like an amphitheater. You know, you sit in the chairs, and then they show you sections of this crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and they show you each section and what each section means, and then they shine the light on the whole thing. It's spectacular, and you know, I always, when I take people around the museum, I said, look, if you are ever in Los Angeles, California, go and see it. It is in the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. I say, if you ever forget where it is, just ask people where Michael Jackson is buried. And then that's where this painting is, when Michael Jackson is buried.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the room, and there's a lot more to see. Feel free to continue the tour now or come back later at any time. There's another room right around the corner. We look forward to seeing you.